Brown University is involved in a cover-up, in my humble opinion. And the cover-up is not necessarily participating in the act or having fomented the act of terror, it's objectively terror, what occurred on their campus. The cover-up is potentially, arguably, to cover up their own incompetence at either not having been able to prevent the murderous attack, or arrest the assailant after it occurred, and maybe to cover up their abject, utter incompetence at apparently not having cameras working, apparently, allegedly, and we'll get into all of this, having disabled the cameras because they didn't want to assist with the FBI or the feds or ICE to deport illegal aliens, and then having acted in a way that is so bloody suspicious in terms of scrubbing the internet of an individual who I waited to talk about this, not because I'm going to suggest the individual is the culprit, just because when the rumors were circulating that they actually scrubbed the internet, scrubbed their websites of an individual, I wasn't sure that it was actually true. They've confirmed it now, that they scrubbed their university website of a specific individual to prevent that individual from being doxxed and harassed, allegedly, because the individual might look like the description of the shooter and might have been allegedly getting doxxed and harassed. The bottom line, if this is nothing of a cover-up other than the abject incompetence of DEI hires, Brown University, shooting Saturday afternoon, study session, an armed gunman comes into the university on a Saturday, 4 o'clock, goes straight for one specific classroom, shoots 11 people, kills 2 people, one of whom was the president of the Young Republicans Club. I might be making a mistake on that, but the president of the Young Republicans Club, correct me as to what her exact title was, and an Uzbekistan national. And then people were coming out and saying this is a targeted political assassination, and you've got to wait, because until there's any remote evidence to suggest that, it could be a coincidence and it could be true. But if you have no factual basis to justify what could be true, you're moving too quickly or faster than the evidence allows. What we've seen since that is one press conference after another that is abject insanity, stupidity. I'm going to just go one after another. We've got Nick Sorto tweeting this out. It's been in a number of other places. Tweeting, "Holy crap, a Providence, Rhode Island radio host just accused Brown University of taking down security cameras in an effort to shield illegal aliens. If this is true, this is a monumental scandal. This must be thoroughly investigated now." And let me play you this portion.
The camera in that building that Brown put off because the sanctuary city law that we have. You don't want to record illegal immigrants, and you don't want to provide the footage to the FBI or immigration authority. One camera in that building, it come out from your detectives. They are friends of mine. They're angry at this investigation that these people in Brown University put the camera off. They can identify that person.
So you think the people are angry that they put the cameras out, that they took them out because they didn't want to aid and assist in federal ICE agents deporting, removing illegal aliens. Because if they have the footage, they would have to share it with authorities, so they disabled the cameras. That's what the question is.
Imagine how the family want to go through. Tell the truth to the media here.
We heard from both the Brown police chief and the provost at Brown, who have shared that they have been fully cooperative and been forthcoming with all data and evidence that they have.
You know when you're being lied to? When someone doesn't answer the question. They have been forthcoming and shared whatever footage. Yeah, asswipe. What we're asking is whether or not there was an absence of certain footage because you disabled cameras. Can you answer that question straight up, black and white, yes or no? Are there any cameras that have ever been disabled on or around the Brown University campus because you did not, forget that, period. Then we'll say it's going to be a yes or no. Yes, there's been some cameras that have been disabled. That would be the obvious answer. All right. Were they disabled for the purposes of frustrating the ability of ICE to deport illegal aliens? Yes or no? When you ask a question that presumes intent, it becomes easier to wiggle out of. Well, no, we did it for a number of reasons. We were updating the system and whatever. Were the cameras disabled? Do you know how many cameras there are on the campus? Let me see here. I have my notes. I want to make sure that I get this right. By the way, it was Ella Cook was her name. They've got 800 cameras, give or take, on campus. Here, listen to this. 800 cameras, give or take.
The person of interest that they have now released is not the person in this video, the video that's been seen all around the world, showing a person leaving the scene of the shooting on Saturday afternoon. The AG said while there was some evidence that justified detaining this person, recent evidence and lab testing from the scene is pointing them in a different direction. Providence's mayor, Brett Smiley, says even though the murderer is still on the loose, they are not reinstating a shelter-in-place order that was lifted just before 6 a.m. yesterday and are now instead increasing the police presence.
We will be releasing the person of interest who had been detained earlier today. We know that this is likely to cause fresh anxiety for our community. And we want to reiterate what we said earlier, which remains true, which is ever since the initial call, now a day and a half ago, we have not received any credible or specific threats to the Providence community.
Can you imagine the level of incorrigible stupidity that takes to say, look, we haven't received any additional threats. There's a double murderer on the streets. I'm not going to play the rest. So they've got 800 I'm playing the rest.
Now, the chief of police here in Providence says a tip led them to the now released person of interest, reportedly a 24-year-old man from Wisconsin. The FBI helped locate him at a hotel 20 miles south of Brown University.
Okay, forget it. We don't need the rest of this. 800 cameras that they've got on that campus, and we don't know how many of them are working. Then the question is, were they disabled? Yeah, let me bring this one up. There's been a number of people suggesting this. Jesse Waters. And when it gets to Jesse Waters, it's gotten to the biggest bullhorn that legacy media has. Why might they have been disabled? Well, it might be, to frustrate the ability of ICE to deport illegal aliens. Sanctuary cities means you actually have to interfere with the federal enforcement of federal law. Or it might have been because you got a bunch of radicals on campus who don't want video evidence of their criminality and peaceful protests that always seem to go violent and lead to harassment. Listen to this.
The president, who was a no-show at today's presser, has been heckled for years by Muslim underclassmen. She always bends the knee, but they heckle her anyway. Over the summer, radical left human rights groups demanded Brown disable their security cameras so Palestinian activists could raise hell under the radar. Did they cave? We asked. No response. It's not just Brown. The whole city is a DEI mess. The president...
We can stop there. Did they do it? No response. Did you disable the cameras? Yes or no? Forget the reason why. Not for the activists. Did you disable cameras? I don't know. It's my first day. There we go. We got A.G. Hamilton. Views expressed here only represent myself. Wow, FNC reported today that an anti-Israel activist on Brown's campus demanded last year that the university take down some cameras to protect, quote, protesters. Now the school won't answer whether they complied and if they played a role in the limited footage of the shooter. So we don't have an answer to that question. These are the, say, I'm just asking questions. I mean, first of all, some people might not like the fact that they're asking what might be loaded questions. Were they taken down for anti-Israel protesters? If you leave that qualifier out, were cameras disabled? Yes or no? No answer. Here's a straight up question. What did the individual scream when he did the attack? There were reports that the individual shouted, Allahu Akbar. The cops they will not answer that question. And it's quite disgusting that they won't answer that question. And what I find particularly curious is that there were 60 some odd people in that room. They don't know how many, I think everyone in the room was qualified as a victim. They don't know how many people were in the room. They haven't interviewed them from what I understand. Why have the witnesses not come out? Apparently there were 5 credible witnesses who said that the shooter shouted Allahu Akbar.
The police did a press conference yesterday and they would not confirm what the shooter yelled out before he started shooting. So you had a room of 60 students, 11 which have been shot, 2 are now dead. But that means that there are, at least they said somewhere around 60, 40 students who are in there who could confirm what this man shot. At least 5 students that I've seen have confirmed on the record in media interviews saying that he yelled Allahu Akbar. Well, I think that that's pretty relative information. I think that that would matter as there's a massive search for the shooter. Did he yell Allahu Akbar? Because then we should be looking for a, free Palestine terrorist. And Reddit yesterday, by the way, had to shut down the Brown University board because Free Palestine students were celebrating Ella Cook's death.
By the way, Reddit is you want to know what hell on earth looks like? Go to Reddit. So can they confirm? No, I played you the video clip of that other guy, the police chief. They won't answer the question. He shouted something. What did he show? Are the reports? Can we hear from the witnesses? Why have the witnesses not come forward? Well, some of them have, and the media won't report on it. And then what happens in all of this? That leads people to get even more suspicious. So yesterday I was saying, there's someone there saying that they deleted his profile from the internet. Professor Nez, who does good work. Make Common Sense go viral. Over 200 million views, 630,000 subscribers on YouTube. Liz Azzy degenerates, all of them. There isn't a more ghoulish, venomous, poisonous toad in all the evolution of academia. I know this more than anyone. Breaking: Brown University evaporates Free Palestine activist Mustafa Harbouch from their website. Other people's profiles are listed normally on Brown's Center for Middle East Studies page. Harbouch not found. Still shows up in Google search results. What's going on here, Brown University? Here's the guy that... is this going to play this? I want to turn the volume down. I believe
some web pages for students are back.
I'm going to read the question.
I believe some web pages for students or faculty have been taken down. Is that a response to any external threats to anyone in the community?
I believe some students' pages have been taken down. Is that a response to threats or whatever backlash from the community? Listen to this.
We have been working very closely with law enforcement to provide them with all of the internal to Brown information.
First of all, she reminds me of Newland. There are bio-research facilities in Ukraine, and we're very concerned. There aren't bio-research labs. There are bio-defense research facilities. Or the woman there, I personally believe that U.S. Americans can't find Iraq on a map because some people out there don't have maps. This is a woman who's getting ready to lie to you.
We have been working very closely with law enforcement to provide them with all of the internal to Brown information that they need to do this investigation. It's their investigation. They're the professionals. So we're providing information. We're not in the job of reviewing it for them. I know nothing about web pages being taken down as part of this. It's the first I've heard of it.
Hey, ma'am, how the hell do you not know about it? Okay, you've heard of it now? Can you get back to us in about 15 minutes? You know what? Go out in the back. Here's my cell phone. Call the student administrative body. Call whomever and find out now. Oh, well, it's the first time I've heard about it. That's a problem because I heard about it 2 days ago. And go look into it right now and come back to us with an answer. Oh, no, I'm just going to go and not answer that now. And then at the next press conference, I'll pretend not to have known. And then when someone asks me again, I'll say, we are currently looking into it. And as soon as we have any information, we'll share it with law enforcement because that's what good universities do.
In the back. Yep.
So that's that. It's wild. I'll give all of you the links so you can go check this out on your own. Now, what happened? What was this one? Why did the university scrub him from the website? What are they hiding? And now, I brought this one up because I'm not trying to be glib here. It's possible the kid, he might just look like the shooter because you have shitty footage because apparently they don't have cameras that have better footage in their 800 cameras. So the fact that we don't have better footage than what's on the left is a problem for which the university not only should have to answer, for which they should be sued. So the best footage that we have right now is the person of interest on the left. That's the shooter. And people are comparing it to an individual who is apparently a pro-Palestinian, born in Lebanon activist. He might just look like the guy, and it might be unfair. I'm not making any positive statements of person of interest or liability. From what I understood, they might have already, as we were live, arrested a person of interest. So they scrubbed the website. They have done it. You can go and actually look at it on Wayback Machine of this particular guy who kind of looks like
protesters refusing to stand
the
down
shooter,
as Brown University
based on this
officials
crappy
temporarily
footage that we
suspend
have,
the school's chapter of Students for
and no
Justice
further
in
answers.
Palestine.
This suspension is a clear.
And just don't answer questions, legitimate questions, and then complain when people come to certain conclusions. What the hell's going on? And then, I made a hyperbolic, this is starting to look like a cover-up of incompetence at worst, or political assassination. I should say, let me phrase, incompetence at best, or political assassination at worst. Can you imagine if it's just incompetence, and this is a political assassination at Brown, an Ivy League shithole as far as I'm concerned? Can you imagine what would happen if it came out that this is a second political assassination murder? Because Ella Cook, the woman who was murdered, was the leader of the, what is it called? The College Republicans of America said Cook was vice president of Brown's College Republicans. Can you imagine what would what we've seen is that in the face of violence and in the face of death and tragedy, conservatives and the right respond as a whole much better than the left. Even when, people on the right were freaking out at Trump's truth post, which it wasn't ultimately even anywhere near as bad as anything the left has ever said about, Charlie Kirk and whatever. They were freaking out about that post. There were a handful, I can maybe name 3, trollingly rejoicing in the murder of Rob Reiner. And they were lambasted appropriately, and they are demonic for having done it. By and large, the response is far different, but there's only so many times your political leaders are going to get assassinated or attempted assassinated before there's going to be very, very big social problems. Can you imagine if you have now Ella Cook, Republican, prominent Republican figure on a leftist rag campus, getting assassinated by even if it's just a lefty terrorist or a pro-Palestinian terrorist? I mean, this could end a university. And then if it turns out it happened because they disabled the cameras to protect illegal immigrants and pro-Palestinian protesters, if that's true, or if people within the administration covered up to facilitate getting away with it. This is from AL.com, Alabama.com. Tuberville claims to know the motive for Ella Cook's murder. The consequences here are very, very fishy. Alabama's senior senator claimed that the Mountain Brook teenager killed in the mass shooting over the weekend at Brown University was targeted because she was a Republican. Tuberville made the allegation Tuesday, despite authorities not identifying a suspect, let alone a motive. Well, isn't that convenient that they haven't done their fucking jobs yet? It's an amazing thing. The worse they do their jobs at Brown University, the more they get to deny what is becoming increasingly more likely, if not more obvious. College Republicans said Cook was the vice president of Brown's College Republicans. 1 other victim was killed and 9 others were injured. She was a Republican leader in the Republican Party at Brown University. You can't tell me she wasn't targeted. I would hate to miss that opportunity to say that because the consequences here are very, very fishy. But at the end of the day, nobody really pays a price for this. And on campus, more and more of these are continuing to happen. And we're going to have to force the hand of these people that run these universities, Tuberville said. We don't need to go into the rest of that. It's an amazing thing. Their own incompetence shields them from the consequences of their own incompetence. And you got some asking the questions. Who's this man? I know I like this guy. Hold on, where? My goodness. Rob Finnery, USA. Here, let me put this in. I'll play a little bit of it. Just make sure that I got all the clips that we want to talk about here. And I'm going to go see if there was any breaking news as to an identity of the shooter.
Why, reportedly, has the profile of a well-known Brown student and Palestinian activist suddenly been scrubbed from the Brown University website? Don't you think that's strange? This person reportedly was an undergrad at Brown and part of the class of 2027. He also fits the description of the suspect in all those ring cam videos that we keep seeing. He's also around 5'8" and has a stocky build. This person also reportedly a Palestinian refugee who was born in Lebanon, and his interests at Brown include the intersection of queer studies with Palestinian studies, which is not a real thing. because there's no such thing as queer studies in Palestine because being gay there is against the law. Now, again, and we want to be clear, none of this has been verified by the Providence Police Department because they haven't verified anything. But don't you think it's at least a little bit interesting that the profile of a Muslim student at Brown who's from a Muslim country who also fits the description of the suspect has suddenly been scrubbed from the internet? And don't you think it's interesting that this same individual has also mysteriously gone missing? Don't you think that if this guy really had nothing to do with what happened with the shooting, if he was just running around looking for his lost cat on Saturday afternoon near that engineering building, don't you think he would have come forward and said, whoa, guys, that's me in the video, but I didn't do any of this? And why isn't anyone else asking that question?
Good question. And by the way, so they've apparently the breaking news is they've identified a suspect. Brooke Taylor, Fox News. Providence police have identified the suspected Brown University shooter, and have a warrant, according to my sources. Police are also investigating a possible link now between Brown University shooting and the murder of an MIT professor. And the top, or at least the first comment, Providence logic. Have the shooter identified. Don't release his name and or image. Makes so much sense. Of course. Holy shit. We're going to see. They're going to release the name sooner than later. It will not happen while we're live now. It will happen. And we will see what pans out of all of this. And we'll see if the suspicions turn out to be true. And we'll see if the incompetence turns out to be incompetence, corruption, or, God forbid, something actually much more sinister and much worse. Serenity now.